YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com. This is the Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217 or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Just before we get into the program, I just want to inform you that Glen Gower has not called me back. Glen Gower is the Stittsville City Councilor who took great umbrage at our coverage of the environmental whatever it was that was passed or didn't pass or whatever at City Hall. He claimed we were wrong, that it had not been voted on. And then in his letter to us, he did state that it was voted on. And not only that, but they had a plan and it was all fully costed. So it's all very confusing. I told Glen when I left a message for Glen Gower on his phone, and I told him it was very confusing. And I suggested that it could be that neither he or probably any other member of City Council really understood what they voted for. Would he please give me a call back and get some clarification? He has not called me back. Have you heard from him at all, John?
I have not. He and I are connected on Facebook, and of course, we extended an open invitation on the show yesterday. And you got to think, so at least he or someone in his office would be tuning in if he knows we're talking about this. And we extended an invitation. Nope, not a word.
Well, I mean, this really bothers me. I mean, he defended the city's position, claimed that we were wrong, and then wrote a letter which indicated that we probably weren't wrong at all. The one thing we were wrong, we were using the $60 billion figure as the total cost. And he said, no, it's only $57.4 billion. So we plead guilty on that one. But
yes, we do.
But and then claimed not only that, but claimed that that while the cost was $57.4 billion for all of these windmills and everything that they're going to build, but the revenue from it all was over $80 billion. Now, this indicates a couple of things to me, and I want to get on to something else, but I'm very concerned here. I'm concerned that Glen Gower and no other member of council has bothered to try and clarify this, and that the media seems to be totally silent on this. Some kind of a plan has been approved, not only approved by City Council, but costed out. Not only the cost of implementing windmills, solar panels, etc., all of that costed out in great detail, but the revenue, the so-called profit from it also costed out, which begs another question. Was this all done in-house? Because this would take a lot of people to do all of the accounting on this. Do we have the skills at City Hall to do the accounting on this? Or was an outside accounting firm hired to do this? I suspect the latter. As I say, this would be very sophisticated accounting to be able to cost out everything from 36 square kilometers of solar panels. What would that cost? 710 wind turbines. What would that cost? Toll roading the roads, etc. Changing, the entire city into electricity. It's what every single item was all fully costed out. And then on the other side of it, it was also costed out all of the profits that they would make from this. As I say, this would require very sophisticated accounting. Was this done at City Hall? If so, and I'm asking this of Glen Gower and all other members of council, I'm a taxpayer, you're a taxpayer, we have a right to know. How many City Hall employees were involved in doing this? What was the cost of drawing up this plan? What was the cost of costing everything out? How many people were working on it? And if we didn't do it at City Hall, was this work farmed out to an accounting firm? And what did that cost us? And what's the accounting firm? Because I'd like to check with them too. City business is supposed to be open, transparent is the current operative word, okay? But this is all in secret. Nobody seems to know. Even the councillors themselves don't seem to know. All we know is that somehow or other, a plan has been introduced at City Hall and voted on involving the expenditure of almost $60 billion. This is not a laughing matter. We have a right to know, how is this drawn up? Who drew it up? What's the cost of doing all of this? I mean, here we are, we're scraping for money for health care, for all kinds of other things, screaming at, we don't have enough money for long-term care. And they're going to spend almost $60 billion on windmills and solar panels. We have a bloody right to know what's going on. Okay, that's that. I'm going to go after Glen Gower again. Not good enough. We deserve to know what the situation is, what this is costing us. All right.
If I can interject.
Yes, go ahead.
You and I are both well aware, not all counselors, but certainly a good number of counselors and their teams do listen to this program live, not the podcast, live in their offices. I'm not going to name names. You know who you are.
Yeah, we know who you are, Tim Turney.
Please feel free to call in and discuss this. Set the record straight. What are we missing here? 613-413-2217.
We have a right to know.
Yes, please.
Over 1,000, when you total up the podcast and everything else, well over 1,000 people will view this program. Most of them would be taxpayers, ratepayers in the city of Ottawa. We all have a right to know what you people did. And what did it cost us? And what's the ongoing? Now, is there an ongoing cost in this plan as well? From what I see, it would appear to me that if in fact this was in-house done at City Hall, that this would require almost an entire department to do all of this.
Oh, you'd have city planners and engineers.
Precisely.
Absolutely. You don't just throw 710 windmills out there without having some sort of plan as to where they're going to go, what kind of land needs to be put aside for that, how much power generation that's going to take, et cetera, to install. And yeah, I mean, and like you said, they've costed it out. They were upset because we came within $2 billion. Ludicrous.
Yeah, just talking about the windmills. I mean, the cost, not only the cost of erecting the windmills, but there would have to be insurance. How much would that cost? And the land. Would we have to buy the land? From whom would we buy the land? What would the cost of the land be? Would this be expropriation? But even if it's expropriation, you got to pay for it. So all of that would have to be costed out. I repeat, a very, very sophisticated accounting endeavor. I doubt very much that it was done in-house. But if it was, how many? What are they doing? How much was the cost, et cetera, et cetera? Okay, let's move on. John, you haven't heard from Glen Gower or any other member of City Council on this either, right?
Not a word, sir. Quiet as a mouse.
And nothing from the mainstream media?
Of course not. Well, who's left in mainstream media to cover this? You don't have
somebody
journalists.
Better be.
I know, but I mean, you and I both know in the building we used to work at, there's no longer news reporters. They have news writers. Well, where are they sourcing their information from? And they're just out of college. With all due respect, they're just out of college. And somebody just pointed out they sat and purposely went through and read the report that they were able to find, and they read the minutes from City Hall, and they're convinced that nobody at City Hall would even understand this because she sure as hell doesn't understand it. So how do you expect someone just out of college, very green in the industry, to really even know what they're looking at?
Beats the hell out of me. But boy, I tell you, we're in some trouble here.
Yes, sir.
On another topic, several articles out there now on the fact that we're becoming pretty angry. There is anger across the great swamp. Okay? People are mad. And of course, the media is using the verbal attack on Krista Freeland as an example of that. Lots of hyperbole there. I mean, okay, it shouldn't have happened. It's stupid. But I'm going to tell you something. There was one person, one idiot. The guy probably has the IQ of what, a mosquito, or maybe somewhat below that. I'll tell you, John, you take a crowd you get 12 people together, you're bound to have one idiot in the crowd, okay? So one idiot screamed at her. Shouldn't have happened. It's unfortunate. But, I mean, you know what? Big deal being made of this. But did you know that a guy actually went after Doug Ford not long ago with a butcher knife? Virtually ignored. So a guy goes after a conservative with a butcher knife. Oh, it's not news. But somebody yells at a liberal, oh my God, it's front page. The prime minister is going to set up a whole division to investigate this.
I didn't know the Doug Ford story. And yes,
Yeah.
politics aside, that should be infinitely more concerning than any verbal assault. Look, I do a comedy show every Tuesday night at a local place. Every stand-up comic gets heckled and gets yelled at and poo-pooed. That's, I mean, God, how many times have you faced that in your career? You know? You're telling me politicians have never been yelled at by a member of the public before?
Well, it's stupid. I mean,
a little
somebody
stupid.
threw gravel, remember, at the prime minister a couple of years ago.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
These are just stupid people that they're just stupid people. You can't, I'm going to tell you something. The guy that invents a pill to cure stupidity is going to make a lot of money. Okay. And I can't wait.
Except we're all going to be too stupid to take it because we're going to fall down some rabbit hole of.
But if this is what if somebody yelling at Christopher Freeland is what makes you the maddest, then I guess we're not in that bad a shape. But there's no question that there is a growing anger, and I think that the great truck convoy was an illustration of that, and the ongoing frustration, tremendous frustration at our airports, tremendous frustration and anger, the lineups for passports. I could go on, the mandates, the vaccine mandates, etc. But I'd like to know from you, okay? Are you angry, upset, ticked off? What, of all of the things that are going on out there, what makes you the angriest? Okay.
Ooh, I love that question.
What has got you upset the most? I'm not suggesting that you throw a brick at somebody because it may not even be somebody. But what's going on in this country that makes you the maddest of all of the things? Okay. Give it a little bit of thought. Let's not be trite on this, please, because I want to tap into this. I remember saying this several months ago with the truck convoy. When I saw those thousands of people lining the route, I said, you know what, John? I remember saying this, John. There's something going on in this country. For people to show up like this, and sometimes it was 20 and 30 below with the wind, and hundreds, if not thousands of people were turning out. Something is going on. There's a feeling of frustration, of something. I can't sometimes quite put my finger on it. The mainstream media is calling it anger. What do you think is going on here? And if it is anger or frustration, of all of the things, what has you the most upset? Is there anything that's going on that keeps you awake at night? What is it? John, before we have we got any responses yet?
We do certainly, most of it in relation to our first, but that question's on the screen now. What's going on in Canada right now that makes you the most angry? I love that question. Well, I can't wait to see some of the answers. All right, let's go. By the way, Facebook. So either the Lowell Green Milkman Show or Blast the Radio on Facebook. We're now on LinkedIn. Welcome to our LinkedIn audience. We have yet to get a comment from there, but I know they're watching. YouTube /Blast the Radio, Twitch /Blast the Radio. Post your comments wherever you would ordinarily post them, and we'll get them up on the screen. Anything I don't get a chance to read or get on the screen, I do send to Lowell. What makes Julie the most upset is healthcare. Healthcare, says Chrissy. A couple of other people have chimed in with healthcare. What makes me upset? The cost of EV. So the cost of electric vehicles is upsetting Darren in a big bad way. You want it in there?
No.
Okay.
I just like to hear what people have to say.
All right. To the phone and text 613-413-2217. Lowell, I'd be very surprised to hear a councillor call and try and explain this. This is just pie in the sky dreaming that they voted for, knowing that they will be gone when it comes around. Other than the Gleebites, I can't believe they think they are representing the majority of Ottawans. A colossal waste of money in planning, etc.
I wonder if there's going to be any windmills in the glebe.
Oh, yeah. I've heard it's projected. It's supposed to be somewhere in the Saint Laurent area. Now, Saint Laurent goes quite a ways. Where exactly, I don't know. But we're talking a massive, massive piece of land for one or both of these projects.
36, well, yeah, as you pointed out yesterday, 36 square kilometers of solar panels is 4 times the size of the Central Experimental Farm.
Right. Both projects combined would be about 12 times the
Oh, by the
size of the
way,
Central
I
Canada.
have to let you know, talking about solar panels,
Oh.
right now,
Here we go.
I have to give it to you here. Get it? Oh, yeah, here we are. Right now, well, at 1 o'clock, Ontario was burning 19,004 megawatts of power. Solar was providing 99. That is 0.0001 from solar power. All the you drive by, there's solar farms around and so forth.
Mhm.
Some of them large, and I mean today they are producing less than 1/2 of 1%. Now wind is blowing a little bit more. Combined wind and solar right now. This is what all this is about. We're going to scrap all fossil fuels, okay, and we're going to rely on wind and solar. 41 or 42 big windmill farms right now, thousands of acres of solar farms, and right now, combined, producing 9.6% of all of our needs, less than 10%, which is high. Most days it's under 5%. Today, it's really, really working well, under 10%. Go ahead, please.
All right, Wooden Head is on YouTube. What makes me angry, the fact we have the resources to be completely energy independent and we have the resources to supply the world, yet the government wants to regress rather than progress.
I want to comment on that. Thank you very much. Finally, the mainstream media seems to be picking up on this. Now, I have been screaming and yelling about the high cost and stupidity of the Green Energy Act in Ontario since the days of Dalton McGuinty. I broadcast in Toronto at CFRB in 92 and 93, the year that the Blue Jays won the World Series. And at that time, I was complaining about a number of things that are still outstanding. But finally, the mainstream media seems to be picking up on the fact that, wait a minute, not only can we not supply our own country with oil, but we can't supply any other country other than the United States. We can't, for example, supply Europe. And there's several columnists have now pointed out that we should be rolling in billions of dollars of revenue right now.
Hell yes.
If we had liquefied natural gas, which we should have had, Trudeau has stopped or delayed 18 separate liquefied natural gas plants, including a huge one in Saguenay less than a year ago. This would have provided Europe with all of the natural gas it needed. It would have rolled, the billions of dollars would have been pouring into this country. Billions, and I'm not exaggerating, billions. Can you imagine if we had natural gas liquefied that we were able to provide to Germany and France and Italy, and all of these countries rely upon on Russian oil and gas?
Total game changer.
Oh, we would be well, Dubai is considered to be, on a per capita basis today, the richest country in the world. If you've ever been there and see the buildings, we could be just as rich here, folks, if we just were able to sell natural gas and oil to Europe and Asia for that matter. But let's talk about Europe. Not only that, but we would cut Russia off from huge revenues, maybe wouldn't be able to carry out its war in the Ukraine. But Trudeau, and this is Trudeau alone, but finally, my hopeful message here, finally the mainstream media seems to be picking up on this, because until now they've pretty well ignored it. Go ahead, John. What else have we got?
Listen, we've got a ton of comments, but we've also got to get a word in for your buddies at Shield, please.
All right, good. If you're upset about anything and you're looking for an appliances and you really want an easy thing, you don't want any worries, you don't want any sweat, you don't want any delays, you don't want any give Shields a call. They'll look after you right away. They tell me that at least 90% of whatever appliance you might want, they have in stock. Prices are very, very competitive. They understand the market. They've been in business since 1947, so they know what they're doing. They're very experienced. They shop the market. They know exactly what other companies are charging. They try to match it or perhaps even beat it. Shield, very good finance plans as well. And they've also just been approved as a Sony dealership. Good people, honest people, and No worries with Shields. John, what's next?
All right, social media followers, thanks for sharing the show and getting the word out that Lowell is here doing his thing daily from 2 until 2:30. John, this is the first time I believe we've heard from you on YouTube. He says, the climate cult and their insane policies upset me to no end.
Yeah, it's, I tell you, it's beggaring this country when we should be rolling in money. We should have no problem with all kinds of money to build hospitals, hire doctors, etc., etc. If we just could sell natural gas and oil to Europe. Honest, I mean it. You know what? It's a freaking crime. It's a sin that we can't do it. Europe is crying out. The president of Germany came here begging us for help. And Trudeau, danced around. The fact of the matter is, we can't give them anything because we can't get it there. Go ahead, John.
We can't even get it to New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI.
That's right. We can't even get it to half of Quebec. Or all of the maritime provinces. Go ahead, please.
I always thought it was weird. Whenever I've been going to New Brunswick for 30 years, I always thought it was weird. There's spaceport heat everywhere. It never dawned on me that they just didn't have the option. All right, Murray says, we should be the richest country in the world, and instead we are the laughing stock. Let's go to Mahadi. I'm so angry. The media keeps talking about Justin Trudeau, the most hated man in the Western world. CBC and CTV are so annoying covering this guy. David says, what makes me mad? How major issues are being ignored. Energy situation, healthcare, housing, all in favor of climate change and green energy, wasting billions in the process.
Very good. It's very true. This is, excuse me, and I've said this many times before on this program and elsewhere, and that is the reason that we have a terrible crisis in healthcare is because for decades in this province and in this country, we have concentrated on windmills and solar panels, green energy, rather than healthcare. We have spent billions and billions of dollars on windmills, solar panels, and ignored the terrible needs in our crumbling healthcare system. Lay the responsibility for that right where it should be, on the shoulders of the environmental movement. Go ahead, John.
To the natural gas pipeline question, Glenn says there are two bottlenecks over and above Trudeau, those being BC and Quebec.
Well, actually, if we're talking, yes, when it comes to oil, absolutely. But when it comes to liquefied natural gas, it's Trudeau. Trudeau and Guilbeault have the most recent one. They were going to build a huge liquefied natural gas plant in Saguenay. I forget the amount of the tonnage, but it would have been enough to supply almost all of Europe's needs. It was huge, and it was turned down by Trudeau and Guilbeault. Go ahead, John.
Let's go to email. We haven't read any emails yet. You're welcome to send emails to lowell@blasttheradio.com. Rob in Carlton Place. What makes me mad right now? It seems every single story I read in the news mentions a grant or a contract or a subsidy handed out to someone or somebody I have never heard of. Is there anyone that the federal government does not hand out our money to for one cause or another? It's unbelievable. They give it so much, they don't even know who or why the recipients are who are getting it.
In this regard, there's some stories out today concerning the appointment of our latest Supreme Court judge, an Indigenous woman, very fine woman. But there's growing questions about her experience, her skill, her qualifications. Apparently I'll let you read but to me, that's very disconcerting. Was she appointed only because she's Indigenous, or was she appointed because she's a highly experienced judge? This is the Superior Court of Canada, and there's growing indication that some of her qualifications really do not qualify her. I'll leave that to someone else to decide, but I'm throwing out what's now being said. Go ahead, John.
All right, the question on the board is, what's going on in Canada that makes you the most angry? Here's a text at 613-413-2217. This person says, healthcare and very long waiting lists to see specialists in the hospitals. That is their concern.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying that I agree.
Okay. Lowell, as I mentioned a while ago, what is going on is the common man is not being heard by the elitist government, mainly due to the voting systems, which leaves the majority of people who voted PC left out. You can't silence the majority. The Liberals love anybody who talks harshly to their hapless MPs because they know the media will jump all over it. Let's go to Kellyanne on Facebook. Your comment is as follows. Trudeau and his cronies don't want Canada to be prosperous. They want to shut our economy down and bring forth the Great Reset, where we will own nothing and we will be happy. We've got a call coming in. Lowell, haven't had a chance to screen it. Did you want in on that comment before we do that?
No, I'm just listening to what people have to say. That's
Sure.
great.
Great comments today, by the way, and I will forward them all to Lowell. So, Lowell, you will have some reading to do tonight. Not sure if your Blue Jays are on or not, but
yes, they are.
Okay, well, you'll have some reading to do. Let's go to the phone. We haven't had a chance to screen it. Can we get your name, please?
Good afternoon. It's Jace.
Jace, I really got to add you to my phone so I know to hang up on you when you call. Go ahead. You're on live with Lowell Green.
What's on your mind, Jace?
Well, we can pick on the environmentalists all we like, and I understand we need to spend money on healthcare. I understand that. I understand we could have been we could have sold LPG to Europe. I get all of that. But at some point in time, we're going to run out of these petrochemical or petrocarbon energy. And I'm wondering, at what point do you think we need to start worrying about it? Because it's all fine and dandy to say, okay, like all this solar and the wind, and I get it, it's not very good. And I understand that you're against the whole idea of green energy, but at some point in time, we need to start looking for a different technology. And so my question to you, Lowell, is what would be a good time to start? When we run out?
Well, no, I'm not opposed to green energy where it's practical. But the fact of the matter is, within the Earth, we have enough fossil fuel right now to last us well over 100 years. This idea that, someday we're going to be running out, this is nonsense. And, by that time, there will be we'll be burning something else, hydrogen or God knows what. But that's something that I can't worry about. All I know is that we have enough. It's not just us, Jace. If we can't supply, for example, because we can't supply natural gas to Europe, that means that Russia is taking billions of dollars in from Europe, money that they use to bomb Ukraine. So there are widespread ramifications. And I would prefer to think about things like that rather than, 100 or 200 years from now when we run out of fossil fuels.
But what if it's much shorter than that, Lowell?
Well,
what if it is a lot shorter than that? And I'll tell you this.
Can I tell you something else? Yeah, we may collide with Mars too. But I'm not going to worry about it today.
But we're not going to collide with Mars. Well, that's picking something out of the ether. Think about this, Lowell.
Go ahead.
Can I?
Sure.
Okay. We had a bad storm yesterday again. Like, these bad storms are getting stronger, and they're getting more. Like, it's coming more often.
You know what?
And this is all part of the climate change, Lowell. Like, what we're doing, these burning of the petrochemicals, these large petrochemical companies, they predicted this stuff in the 1950s.
Jace, I've
and
heard
it's getting worse.
Jay, no, it's not actually.
It is.
But let me ask you this, okay? If we don't burn fossil fuels, how would you suggest we get our power?
Lowell, I understand.
No,
we're married to it.
Jace, just a minute. This is a very fair question, and I'm going to insist you answer it. If we don't burning fossil fuels, how do we get our power?
I agree.
I
don't have the answer, but that doesn't mean we should blind ourselves to looking at potentials. Like,
nobody's blinding. But my question is, you can't answer it. Because there is no answer.
I don't have the answer, neither do you.
Are you prepared to impoverish the entire world while fossil fuel sits in the ground?
No,
Good.
I'm not. I'm not, but I'm quite open to looking at other sources. That's what I'm trying to get across.
Go ahead and look, but don't force it on the world when we desperately need fossil fuels.
No, I agree with you there. I agree with you there.
Jace?
I listen.
Tomorrow,
show yesterday going on about the city of Ottawa. I agree with you. Like, this is preposterous what they've done, but we need to start looking at things.
We've been looking at it for.
That's all.
We're looking at it, Jace. But in the meantime, we need fossil fuels, or we all starve. Now, Jace, are you any good with a stone axe?
Yes, I'm really good with it. I can carve a stick.
Good. With a stone axe. Wonderful.
With a stone axe, I can carve a stick. I can't do anything else with it, though.
Jace wants to send us back to the Stone Age.
I did not say that.
Well, that's what you're talking about. Got to move
No,
on here,
that's not what I'm
Jace.
talking about at all.
Thank you. Well, Jace, got to move on here. By the way, the storms are not getting worse. It's very interesting. There was a story the other day. You know, all these heat waves. The hottest it has ever been in Ontario was on July the 11th, 1936, when the temperature was over 40 degrees, well over 40 degrees for about 10 days. I know this very well because I was born on July 7, 1936, in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which also suffered the greatest heat wave that we have ever seen in this country or the United States. 1936. And by the way, talking about storms and weather, did any of you people out there ever hear of the dirty 30s? What caused that? Got to move on here, John. We're right out of time. Thank you all. You know what? Just do yourself a favor. Just read up a little bit on the Great Depression, the dirty 30s, and see what the weather was like then, back in the 1930s. Okay. Got to move on. Back tomorrow.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.